Colleen with Rope and Resellers, and I'm here for a tip on what to look for when you're out in the thrift stores, at garage sales, at estate sales, looking at patterns and you have no idea which ones to grab. So some of them are not worth very much, and I've already talked about that. Modern ones, I'm talking about the newer ones, not necessarily the ones from the 70s, 80s, and earlier, but more modern patterns. So I just grabbed a couple that I have to show you, and I looked them up. First thing I wanted to say was that uncut patterns are worth more than cut. So what I do not cut my patterns. Just because they're multiple sizes, and once you cut a small, you can't get a large out of it. So I learned fairly early on that I could just trace the patterns. So that's what I have done with these. So in mine, they are not cut. What I have done instead is take tracing paper, and I have traced the patterns. But so if I take that out and I decide I want to sell this because my kids have outgrown it or whatever, or if I find one, this one's only worth maybe $4 or $5, which is better. A lot of them alone are only worth $1 or $2. So this one in particular, because it's useful and it's a good size, it is a kid's pattern, but it's a medium large, so it's kind of for older kids, for 8 to 12-year-olds. So anyway, this one would be considered uncut. That means that this, even though I folded it and refolded it, this pattern sheet has never been cut. So it's still in its original condition. So that's what I mean by uncut. So that's something you're looking for, is that it hasn't been cut, because that's kind of what people are looking for, especially if there are a lot of them out there on eBay. There's quite a few of these listed, and like I said, it's worth about $4. What you want to look for are crafts. So this one is considered sort of a craft in its simplicity. It's a one size. I don't think I've ever used this one. So this is also uncut. This one is really, none of these that I'm going to show you are worth a whole lot. They're worth maybe $5 or $6 up to $10. And so that's about the best you can hope for. What I would do is, if I had a lot of these craft ones, like this one, so this one's a scarf and this one has a scarf, I might lot these together and sell them for $10. So there's not a ton of money in modern patterns, but if you know what you're looking for, and I'll show you later on the computer what kind of stuff is bringing good money, then you can make some good money. So anyway, I had this one, and then this one is a Christmas one. Someone's asking $100 for one right now, but of course, when did it sell? It sold at Christmas for like $7. Also remember Christmas, I did want to point out that you can list Christmas year round. People actually start making Christmas stuff either at the end of Christmas, because they're still feeling the Christmas love and they want to experience that a little bit longer. Usually I sell my patterns and craft kits in August, because that's when people are starting to think about making crafts for Christmas. So the last thing I want to show you are magazines. This is a magazine I used to subscribe to. So this magazine is called Ottobre. It's out of Finland, and inside are all the patterns. So I have, because it was mine, I've cataloged all these. So if I use these and I trace the pattern, then I have put it in a Ziploc bag and included that, and put it with the magazine. So this might be missing, but this is the important part. This is the part that has the patterns. So in here are all the directions, but in the front are ideas on how to make the outfits for kids. They also produce a magazine for women, and some of the magazines have men's patterns in them as well. Also Berta, I didn't grab any of those. I have some of those as well. So magazines are another thing that you might want to look for. So let's go over to the computer and take a look. Let's run through a couple things that I picked out online in addition to what I showed you. And here's a Vogue pattern. Now what makes this unique is, so it's a sewing pattern for a purse, which you would think, huh, that's weird. But it's a Birkin, and this pattern came out in 2016, I believe. I did a little research, and it sold out almost immediately. This is uncut, so like I've said before, if it's uncut, it's worth a little bit more. But it sold for $300 for a pattern, for a purse. So it's a classic purse, I guess, this one with the buckle on it. You can actually find the pattern online if you like it, but this particular Vogue pattern has done very well. Okay, so here's another Vogue pattern. Christmas patterns do well in general because people want to make their own things. This is a horrible picture, but look, they got $55 for it. So it's a little advent calendar that you can make little ornaments to put on this tree that the kids can keep track of Christmas. So that sold for $55, which is pretty great. So this, I know it's vintage from the 1960s, but this in general, this, I just wanted to point this out because I know in the other one I said, oh, watch for Vogue because it's worth more. Not all old Vogues are a guarantee. There's some pretty hideous fashions out there. Think of 1980s. It's a look, right? But it's not really something that people, it's not classic or timeless. Vogue Paris original. This particular banner, if you see it, is a good call because this person got $100 Australian, which is about 71 US. Okay, and then this designer, if you look this person up, is he Miyake? I think I'm probably slaughtering that. But I looked up this person online and almost all of their patterns do really, really well. And this was Vogue design. And it's worth picking up because at auction they got $57. So that was Vogue. This is Simplicity. Simplicity makes patterns for Star Wars. I think they have some other licensed people. So their Star Wars patterns tend to do really well. This one sold for $155. So if you can find this one I'm going to guess is, yes, new, uncut. So there again, if it's fresh and original, and that actually is a really great photo because this is what I always clue into. I will always, like if I'm rifling through a box of patterns really quick, this is a really easy thing to find. Not all of these purple and orange costume corners are going to be worth money, but if they are Star Wars, almost always, and especially I think this is an adult size. So that's the other thing you have to kind of watch for. People are really into cosplay, and I will point that out. Here's another thing to look for. This is also Simplicity. This is a craft pattern for a big blanket. Grandmas love to make things for their grandbabies, and this is super cute, and it's sold out. So if you can find this uncut, a lot of times people buy these and they never make them. So it's worth a look. Even cut, this probably is worth half as much, but because this is a one size, it doesn't make that big a difference that it would be cut. So actually it probably is worth like $35. At eBay Open a couple years ago, I was talking patterns with someone and they said they bought Daisy Kingdom, which I had never heard of. This is also a Simplicity quote unquote craft. They do make some clothes, Daisy Kingdom. They also make kids clothes. Those, you have to be pretty picky. I would look up the pattern, but it's super easy because you can look up the pattern number up here and you can find out really quickly whether it's worth money or not. But this was worth $54, $55. So you're probably saying to yourself, well, I find these things at garage sales or at my thrift store. What do I know is good? If you can find a huge lot, look, 38 cosplay. I just looked up the search sewing pattern cosplay, and this is what I got. So if you can lot them up, always grab costume patterns if you can in adult sizes. Here's another one that's a Mongol costume. You wouldn't even think, but it sold for $50. Renaissance, so people do Renaissance. I've done really well actually with Renaissance dresses, and people like to go to Renaissance fairs in the spring, so that's something to look out for. Bridal, this is cosplay, but some bridal gowns will do well if they're fairly timeless or if they have a theme like medieval. Okay, here McCall's is actually marketing cosplay patterns. They're selling for $15, which is pretty good because as I go down the list, when you search patterns, you think, oh my gosh, Colleen, you're crazy. What are you doing sending us getting patterns when we can't make any money? Thrift stores do not value these. I can buy patterns for 25 cents to $1 at my thrift store. And if you can get them at garage sales, sometimes you can get them for as cheap as 10 cents a piece. So if you pull out something and it's 10 cents and you sell it for 15, that's a pretty good profit. And they're super easy to list. They're super easy to ship. The secret to this is to try to find ones that are uncut, which actually isn't that uncommon. There are sewing magazines that are produced that have patterns in them. I used to subscribe to this particular pattern company, Otobre, which is out of Norway, Finland, and they have patterns in each and every magazine. The early ones are written in Finnish. Oftentimes, magazines come from Europe, from France, from Germany. And don't worry about whether they have translations or not. The instructions are usually the same, and sometimes they even have translations online. So anyway, these all, if you can find sewing magazines with patterns inside of them, not just about their patterns, but actually patterns that you can sew from, people will pay good money for them. Okay, and one of the other sewing magazines, these don't have patterns in them, but they're my mom used to get this magazine and loved it, but it is all about how to sew. So there's a lot of couture tips in here and how to fit garments. And so this is really a seamstress based written and produced magazine that a lot of seamstresses like. This one sold for $100 for one magazine, which is pretty amazing. And the last magazine that is a little more common did come from Europe. This one is a vintage one, but if you can lot them together, if you're going to garage sales or estate sales, sometimes women keep these, women and men, sorry, keep these pattern magazines around, and they'll have 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 magazines. You can lot them up together and then get some good money. So I hope that helped. Thanks again for watching. If you like what you see, go ahead and like or dislike, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you on Monday.